What's up, fellow creators? Today I want to talk about audio. Audio is just one of those things that if you mess up, it's going to completely detract your viewer from your video. If you sound like this, they're not going to want to watch that video for very long. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about two audio sources that I use to get good audio. The primary jobs that I do are live events, primarily weddings. And in 2017, I had 42 weddings, and this year I capped it off at 41. And I don't consider myself a top-level wedding videographer. This is my second year being full-time, but the main compliment that I get from other filmmakers and brides is that I have really clean audio. And the two devices that I use is the Zoom H1 with a giant squid lav, and that's what I'm actually using right now to record this video. And for recording to the DJ system or any PA system, I use the Tascam DR-60D. So in this video, I'm going to go into the settings that I used for the Zoom H1 and the Tascam DR-60D. So the first thing I'm going to cover is the DR-60D Mark II. In the previous video, I talked about how the only thing I bring to a wedding is a roller bag and a backpack. I try to keep it minimal as possible. This is like my audio setup. I got this case at Best Buy. It's like $20. I'll leave a link to the description below, but for me it's pretty it's like a hard shell case, semi-waterproof, and this is where I keep the DR-60D and all the cables to it. In here I keep the actual device itself. I have a pair of Apple headphones, which I use to monitor the audio. This is just a standard USB, because for me, it takes 4 AA batteries, but I've never even used it because I heard the battery life is terrible, so I bought one of these Anchor batteries, and basically you just utilize that USB cable, plugs in there, plugs in here, and basically this is kind of an overkill. There's a smaller version, but this battery pack could literally, I'll film 2.5 weddings and there's 4 bars that show the power level, and it will only go down 1. So you could easily get the smaller version of this one, but it just gives me, I know I'm definitely not going to run out of battery utilizing that. So also in this case, the main cables that I will use is just a standard XLR male-female cable. So another cable I utilize in case is just standard RCA into a male 1/4 inch. And then finally, the only other cable I have is just a 1/4 inch male-male. So now I'm just going to show the quick settings that I use. Again, I'm not an audio expert, but I've been using this for 2 years and it's been awesome. So what I do it's kind of weird, if you use the Anchor battery thing, you need to make sure you click that to shows, because if it's just on standby, it actually won't send power to it. So you click that button, hold the power down here. So now it's going to ask you bus power storage. So if you plug this thing directly into the computer using the same USB cable, that's where we're going to use storage to be able to access the files. But bus power is how we're going to be powering it because it's external. You can set the date, click the big button again. So after you turn it on, this is the screen that you're going to get. You're going to hit menu, record mode. I have it set to dual mono. That's the recording level that allows you to record that safety track. And the source is going to be channel 1, so that's going to be that first side XLR right here. Below that, it's going to set the dual level, so your safety track is how much lower do you want it than the actual recorded channel itself. So from there, hit menu, go to input settings. This is where you can select your gain, limiter, and low cut. That's the settings I currently have it set at. You can go back to record settings. So I have mine set at 24-bit 48 with the size of 1 gig. So every time, you're basically telling it after a gig of audio, it's going to create a new file. And that's the same, you can, like if you want more quality, it's just going to be a larger file. You can go up here and select 96, it just depends. And again, I'm not an audio expert, but this is just other settings that I got from the research that I've done. Auto record, I have that off. There's seriously a ton of other features that for what I utilize, it's completely not necessary, but you can have it set where once audio starts, it will instantly start recording, which is pretty cool, but I just don't utilize that. I manually do everything myself. And that's pretty much it. And that's the settings that I have it set at. So when I show up to a wedding, all I do is I turn it on, and pretty much all your settings are stored. I'm going to go and hit that, grab my XLR cable. That's going to go right into this slot. Now this is going to plug into the back of the speaker. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but me personally with this and my experience using it, if the DJ has really nice speakers and you plug this in and you put the gain to low, to me it's the most crystal clear audio that you can get from it. And a lot of people will just plug it straight into the mic receiver, which is basically 99% of the time it's going to be a 1/4 inch, and it's going to be, for this one, it's the same output. You're going to plug it into there, and it's going to plug back into the DJ's mic receiver. But to me, when I plug it into there, it's not enough gain. It's a weak signal, and I have to introduce like gain, and it just doesn't sound as great. You introduce noise, and it's not as clear as plugging it directly into the speaker. So after you plug the XLR cable into the DJ speaker board, you're going to get these bars that show. So the bottom one is your safety track, the top one is the main recording level. You really want to hit that triangle, that's your sweet spot. You really don't want to go over. If you start peaking, you're going to see this red light blink. I'll try to get it to peak. So that right there is letting you know that it's peaking. You need to turn it down. Right here, this is your settings for channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, 4. So we are plugged into channel 1. Because I'm using a condenser mic, I'm using phantom power. It does have that option, but when you're at like a live event and you're using DJ, it's going to be either line or mic. Mic, if you're in the middle setting, is going to be a little hotter, and that's the setting that I normally use it at. But if, say, the signal's too hot, you can switch it down to line, and that's going to reduce the amount of decibels that'll be coming through. Lastly, if say you are set to the center one and you're utilizing the knob and you're still not getting enough and you need to introduce more gain, you can just hit quick, go down to channel 1 gain, and then you can turn it up. But as you turn that up, it's just going to get more noisy, and that's why I really like I said before, placing it on low and plugging directly in the speaker if they have nice speakers. An easy way you can tell is just if there's no music playing, you can literally just stand by the speaker and listen. And if there's like a lot of feedback, then you probably are going to have to utilize their audio receiver and just introduce a little more gain. Finally, one other thing I will say is when you hit record, it's going to blink once. It's going to put it in standby. Make sure you hit that twice. That's one of the cons, I would say, of this thing, but you kind of get used to it. And the nice part about that, you obviously know it's recording because it's counting down, but you hit stop when you're done. And what I normally do, since the battery just lasts forever, I just hit that once and put it on standby, and I just leave it hooked to the speaker. So in case there's like a random speech or something that I need, I'll just run up to it, hit record, and I'm good to go. So this pretty much sums it up. I just want to do a quick summary of my settings that I use with the Tascam DR-60D, and next we're going to go over the Zoom H1. So next we'll be talking about the Zoom H1. I keep them in sandwich bags because I have lost so many of these little top foam in the clip, so I just keep all 3 of these in my sandwich bag. And basically I just use 3 of these, one for the groom, one for the officiant, and one on like the podium for wedding purposes. And the settings are pretty simple. So these are the settings that I have on the back. I got low cut off, auto level off, and I'm currently set to wave. So down here, you hold this down, and that'll turn her on. And I personally use a giant squid mic. A lot of people will say the Rode mic, but then you have to buy an adapter, and I know for audio purposes, the more adapters you introduce, it's just more something that could fail. That's another connection that could pop out in their pocket. And I just personally, this giant squid is it's kind of warmer. The one thing that I would say is that it does introduce S's, but that can easily be corrected. I use Final Cut Pro, so the de-esser just automatically takes that out. But when you first turn it on, it's going to show you how much time you got left. So as stated before, I use 4824, and when you first turn on the zoom, you can hit the next button, like next track button, and that will automatically allow you to change the quality level. And you got an input setting. Since we're not using audio, I don't like using auto. You basically set it to your setting, and if you have it set on a lapel, I normally keep it at about 68, 69. And another thing I use these for is draping them over a speaker, and I have that set to about 20. And I drape that over the speaker, and that usually is a good audio level. I also tape another one of these, the top of the lav, to a mic stand, and I'll set that to about 68, 70 as well. If you're interested in any of the audio equipment that you saw in this video, I'll leave links below. I'll also leave a link to my wedding YouTube channel so you can see these two devices and the quality they produce. And if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.